A tycoon abandoned his infertile wife only to return and find her raising twins. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth as a light drizzle falls from the gray sky above. You focus on a modest two-story house, its white paint peeling slightly at the edges. The front door swings open, and out steps Sarah, a young woman in her early 20s, her auburn hair catching the faint sunlight that manages to break through the clouds. Sarah takes a deep breath, her chest rising and falling as she steels herself for the day ahead. You can feel the weight of anticipation and nervousness settling in her stomach. Today is the day she's been waiting for, her first day as a junior reporter at the local newspaper. As she walks down the creaky wooden steps of her porch, Sarah's mind races with a mixture of excitement and self-doubt. What if I'm not good enough? She thinks, her inner voice trembling slightly. What if I make a fool of myself? You can almost taste the bitter coffee on her tongue as she takes a sip from her travel mug, hoping the caffeine will calm her jittery nerves. The cool droplets of rain on her face seem to ground her, bringing her back to the present moment. Sarah approaches her beat-up old car, a hand-me-down from her parents. As she fumbles with the keys, you hear her whisper to herself, "You can do this, Sarah. This is what you've worked for." The car door creaks open, and as Sarah slides into the driver's seat, you're right there with her, feeling the worn fabric of the seat beneath you. The engine sputters to life, and Sarah takes one last deep breath before pulling out of the driveway. As she drives through the quiet streets of her hometown, the butterflies in her stomach seem to multiply. You can sense her heart racing, her palms growing sweaty on the steering wheel. But beneath the anxiety, there's a spark of determination, a fierce desire to prove herself. The town gives way to more bustling streets as Sarah approaches the city center. The imposing brick building of the Seattle Tribune looms ahead, and you feel a mix of awe and trepidation washing over Sarah. She parks the car and sits for a moment, gathering her courage. "This is it," she murmurs, her voice barely audible over the patter of rain on the roof. "The start of everything." As Sarah steps out of the car and walks toward the entrance of the Seattle Tribune, you're right there with her, feeling every emotion, every racing thought. The weight of her dreams and fears presses down on her shoulders, but there's a fire in her eyes that tells you she's ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. The glass doors of the building slide open, and Sarah steps inside, leaving the rain-soaked world behind. A new chapter is about to begin, and you can't help but wonder what adventures and obstacles await her in the fast-paced world of journalism. A tall man with salt and pepper hair approaches her, his piercing blue eyes sizing her up. "You must be Sarah," he says, his voice gruff but not unkind. "I'm Jack, your editor." Sarah's heart races as she extends her hand. "Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to meet you." Jack's firm handshake grounds her, momentarily calming her nerves. "Follow me," he says, turning on his heel and striding through the maze of desks. As they weave through the newsroom, Sarah catches snippets of conversations, whispers of corruption, tales of triumph, and murmurs of mystery. Each word feeds her curiosity, igniting her passion for uncovering the truth. Jack leads her to a small, cluttered desk in the corner. "This is you," he says, gesturing to the workspace. "Your first assignment is on top of that pile." Sarah's eyes fall on a thin manila folder, her fingers itching to open it. But before she can reach for it, Jack leans in close, his voice low and urgent. "Listen carefully, kid," he says, his eyes darting around the room. "This town has secrets, deep, dark secrets that some people would kill to keep buried. You've got potential, but potential won't keep you safe. Keep your eyes open, your head down, and trust no one. Understood?" A chill runs down Sarah's spine, and you feel it too, the sudden weight of unspoken dangers hanging in the air. She swallows hard, nodding slowly. "Understood, sir." Jack straightens up, his face once again an impassive mask. "Good. Now get to work. I expect your first draft by noon." As he walks away, Sarah sinks into her chair, her mind reeling. The excitement of her first day has been tinged with something darker, more dangerous. She reaches for the folder with trembling hands, acutely aware that she's stepping into a world far more complex and treacherous than she ever imagined. Opening the folder, Sarah's eyes widen as she reads the first page. The assignment seems simple enough, a local business facing bankruptcy, but something about it nags at her. Why would Jack warn her about secrets and danger over a straightforward financial story? As she begins to dig deeper, cross-referencing names and dates, a pattern starts to emerge. Connections that shouldn't exist, money flowing in directions that don't make sense. Sarah's pulse quickens as she realizes she might be onto something big, something that could make or break her career. But with each new piece of information she uncovers, a sense of unease grows in the pit of her stomach. You can feel her conflicting emotions, the thrill of the chase warring with a growing fear of what she might find. As the clock ticks towards noon, Sarah's desk becomes a chaotic sprawl of notes and documents. She's so engrossed in her work that she doesn't notice the tall figure that pauses by her desk, watching her with cold, calculating eyes. Just as she's about to connect the final dots, a hand lands heavily on her shoulder. Sarah jumps, her heart leaping into her throat. She turns to find herself face to face with a man she doesn't recognize, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Hello, Sarah," he says, his voice smooth as silk but with an undercurrent of menace. "I think it's time you and I had a little chat about your story." The tension in the air is palpable as Sarah realizes that her first day as a reporter has just become a dangerous game of cat and mouse. And as the stranger leads her away from her desk, you can't help but wonder, has she stumbled upon a truth too dangerous to tell? Or is this just the beginning of an even bigger mystery? They enter a small, windowless conference room. The door closes with a soft click that sounds ominous in the sudden silence. The man gestures for Sarah to take a seat, his smile never wavering. "Please, make yourself comfortable," he says, his voice smooth as polished marble. "We have much to discuss." Sarah sinks into a chair, her palms clammy against the cool surface of the table. She watches as the man settles across from her, his movements deliberate and controlled. "I understand you've been looking into Riverside Enterprises," he begins, folding his hands on the table. "Quite the intrepid reporter, aren't you? On your very first day, no less." A chill runs down Sarah's spine. How does he know about her assignment? She forces herself to meet his gaze, summoning every ounce of courage she possesses. "I'm just doing my job," she replies, proud that her voice doesn't waver. "And you are?" The man's smile widens, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "Let's just say I'm a concerned party. Riverside Enterprises is more than it appears to be. And some stories, Miss Sarah, are better left untold." The threat in his words is unmistakable. You can feel Sarah's fear mingling with a spark of defiance. She leans forward, her voice low but steady. "Are you threatening me?" The man chuckles, a sound devoid of humor. "Threatening? No, my dear. I'm offering you a choice. Drop this story, and I can guarantee your career will flourish. Pursue it and, well," he shrugs, leaving the consequences unspoken but painfully clear. Sarah's mind races. The ethical journalist in her screams to pursue the truth, no matter the cost. But fear whispers in her ear, reminding her of the dangers Jack warned her about. As she opens her mouth to respond, the door bursts open. Jack stands in the doorway, his face a thundercloud of anger. "Sarah, my office." Now, he barks, shooting a venomous glare at the stranger. The man rises smoothly, his demeanor unruffled. "Think about what I said, Miss Sarah. I'll be in touch." With that, he glides past Jack and disappears into the newsroom. Sarah follows Jack to his office, her legs feeling like jelly. As soon as the door closes behind them, he rounds on her. "What the hell did you uncover?" he demands, his voice a mixture of anger and concern. Sarah takes a deep breath, steeling herself. I think Riverside Enterprises is involved in something big. Something illegal. Money laundering, maybe worse. But that man, he tried to warn me off. Jack cuts her off with a raised hand. "I knew giving you this story was a risk, but I didn't think they'd move this fast." He runs a hand through his hair, looking suddenly older and more tired. "Sarah, you're on the verge of something huge here. Something that could shake this city to its core. But it's dangerous. More dangerous than you can imagine. He fixes her with an intense stare. You have a choice to make, kid. Walk away now, and I'll assign you to fluff pieces until this blows over. Or dive in deeper, but know that there's no turning back. Once you're in all the way. The weight of the decision settles on Sarah's shoulders like a physical burden. You can feel her turmoil, the clash between her journalistic integrity and her fear for her safety. The air in the office feels thick with tension as she stands on the precipice of a life-changing decision. Sarah takes a deep breath, her mind made up. She looks Jack straight in the eye, her voice steady and determined. I'm in. All the way. Jack nods, a mix of pride and worry crossing his face. All right then, let's get to work. But remember, from this moment on, trust no one. Not even me. As they begin to plot their next move, you can't help but feel the electricity in the air. Sarah has just stepped onto a path that will test her courage, her integrity, and her very survival. The game is afoot, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Late one night, Sarah finds herself in a dimly lit parking garage, her heart racing as she waits for her source. The air is thick with the scent of oil and damp concrete, and every small sound echoes ominously in the cavernous space. A figure emerges from the shadows, and Sarah's breath catches in her throat. It's Maria, a low-level accountant at Riverside Enterprises who had reached out anonymously, promising crucial information. Did anyone follow you? Maria whispers, her eyes darting nervously around the garage. Sarah shakes her head. No, I made sure. Are you okay? You look terrified. Maria finishes with a bitter laugh. You would be too if you knew what I know. She pulls out a USB drive from her pocket, her hand trembling. Everything's on here. Financial records, emails, offshore accounts. It's worse than you think, Sarah. So much worse. As Maria presses the drive into Sarah's hand, a car engine roars to life nearby. Headlights flood the garage, momentarily blinding them. Oh God! They found me, Maria gasps, terror etched across her face. Run, Sarah. Run and don't look back. Before Sarah can react, Maria shoves her towards the exit and turns to face the approaching car. Sarah's instincts kick in, and she sprints away, her footsteps echoing in the concrete structure. The sound of screeching tires and a muffled scream follow her, spurring her to run faster. She doesn't stop until she's blocks away, gasping for air in a quiet alley. The USB drive feels like it's burning a hole in her pocket. Tears sting her eyes as she thinks of Maria, hoping against hope that the woman is safe. With shaking hands, Sarah pulls out her phone and dials Jack's number. It rings once before he picks up. Jack, she gasps, still trying to catch her breath. I've got it. The evidence. But they might have Maria. We need to do something. Jack's voice is grim when he responds. Get to the safe house. Now, don't stop for anything or anyone. I'll meet you there. The journey to the safe house is a nightmare of paranoia. Every passing car, every stranger on the street feels like a potential threat. By the time Sarah arrives at the nondescript apartment building Jack had shown her days earlier, she's nearly sick with fear and adrenaline. She lets herself in with shaking hands, collapsing onto a worn couch in the sparsely furnished living room. Minutes feel like hours as she waits for Jack, jumping at every small noise. Finally, there's a knock at the door, 3 short raps followed by 2 long ones. The agreed-upon signal. Sarah opens the door to find Jack, his face grave. Are you all right? He asks, scanning her for injuries. Sarah nods, pulling out the USB drive. It's all here, Jack. Everything we need to bring them down. Jack takes the drive, his expression a mix of triumph and worry. This is it, kid. The story of a lifetime. But from this moment on, your life is in danger. Are you absolutely sure you want to go through with this? The weight of the decision settles on Sarah like a physical presence. You can feel her fear, her doubt, but underneath it all, a steely determination. She thinks of Maria, of all the people hurt by the corruption she's uncovered. Her voice is steady when she responds. I'm sure. We have to do this. For Maria, for everyone they've hurt. Whatever it takes. Jack nods, a hint of pride in his eyes. All right then, Let's get to work. As they boot up a secure laptop and begin to sift through the explosive evidence, you can feel the tension in the room ratchet up. Sarah knows that with each passing second, they're racing against time and unknown enemies. The story she's about to break will shake the city to its core, but at what cost? The clock ticks relentlessly forward as Sarah and Jack work through the night, piecing together a tale of corruption that reaches to the highest levels of power in Seattle. As the first rays of dawn begin to peek through the blinds, Sarah realizes that her life will never be the same again. The truth is within her grasp, but so too are dangers beyond her wildest nightmares. With trembling fingers, she begins to type the opening lines of her exposé, knowing that each word brings her closer to both triumph and peril. The die is cast, and there's no turning back now. Jack paces the small apartment, making cryptic calls to trusted contacts, his face growing grimmer with each passing hour. The tension in the room is palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. As dawn breaks on the second day, Sarah leans back in her chair, a mixture of triumph and trepidation washing over her. "It's done," she whispers, her voice hoarse from disuse. Jack leans over her shoulder, his eyes scanning the document rapidly. "This is it, kid. This is going to blow the lid off everything." He squeezes her shoulder, a rare show of affection. "You ready for what comes next?" Sarah takes a deep breath, steeling herself. "As ready as I'll ever be." The next few hours pass in a blur of activity. Jack makes the necessary arrangements to publish the story, using every safeguard and precaution at his disposal. Sarah can feel her heart pounding in her chest, a mix of excitement and fear threatening to overwhelm her. As the countdown to publication begins, an eerie calm settles over the apartment. Sarah stands by the window, watching the city wake up, blissfully unaware of the bombshell about to drop. 10 minutes, Jack announces, his voice taut with tension. Sarah turns to face him, her eyes wide. "Jack, what if dash?" He cuts her off with a sharp gesture. "No what ifs now, Sarah. We're past that point. Whatever happens, remember why we're doing this. The truth matters. It always matters." She nods, swallowing hard against the lump in her throat. The final minutes tick by with agonizing slowness. Suddenly, Jack's phone buzzes. He glances at it, then looks up at Sarah, his face a mask of determination. It's live. For a moment, nothing happens. The world outside continues its morning routine, oblivious to the seismic shift that's just occurred. Then, slowly but surely, the storm begins to break. Sarah's phone explodes with notifications. Social media lights up like a Christmas tree. In the distance, they can hear the wail of sirens. "Here we go," Jack mutters, moving to secure the apartment. As the minutes tick by, the chaos outside grows. They watch from the window as police cars speed by, followed by news vans. Sarah's story is spreading like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of outrage and disbelief. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door makes them both jump. Jack motions for Sarah to stay back as he approaches cautiously. "Who is it?" he calls out. A familiar voice responds, tight with urgency. "It's me, open up." Jack's eyes widen in recognition. He quickly unlocks the door, revealing a disheveled and panicked Maria. "Thank God," Maria gasps, stumbling inside. "They're coming. We need to leave now." Sarah rushes to her side. "Maria, we thought they'd taken you dash." No time to explain. Maria cuts her off, her eyes wild with fear. "They know where you are. We have minutes, maybe less." As if on cue, the sound of screeching tires echoes from the street below. Jack peers out the window, his face grim. Black SUVs. At least 3 of them. Sarah's heart leaps into her throat as the reality of the situation hits her. This is it. The moment where everything changes. Jack springs into action, grabbing a pre-packed bag from under the couch. "Fire escape. Now," he barks, ushering them towards the window. As they clamber out onto the metal grating, the sound of heavy footsteps thunders up the stairs. Sarah's hands shake as she grips the rusty railing, adrenaline surging through her body. They're halfway down when the apartment door crashes open above them. Shouts and the sound of splintering would fill the air. "Run!" Jack yells, pushing them ahead of him. As they hit the alley below, Sarah's world narrows to the pounding of her heart and the slap of her feet against the pavement. They weave through back streets and narrow passages, the sounds of pursuit never far behind. Rounding a corner, they come face to face with a chain-link fence. Without hesitation, Jack boosts Sarah and Maria up and over before scrambling after them. They emerge onto a busy street, blending into the morning crowd. Jack hails a passing taxi, all but shoving Sarah and Maria inside. As the cab pulls away, Sarah catches a glimpse of men in dark suits pushing through the crowd, their faces twisted with frustration. "Where to?" the cab driver asks, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Jack gives an address Sarah doesn't recognize, then turns to the two women, his face etched with determination and a hint of fear. "This is just the beginning," he says softly. "Are you ready for what comes next?" As the taxi weaves through the morning traffic, Sarah realizes that her life as she knew it is over. She stepped into a world of shadows and danger, where the truth is the most valuable and dangerous weapon of all. With a mix of fear and determination, she meets Jack's gaze and nods. There's no turning back now. The real fight is just beginning. Jack's voice, low and urgent, breaks the tense silence. "We're heading to a safe house on the outskirts of town. It's off the grid. Should buy us some time to regroup and plan our next move." Maria, still visibly shaken, speaks up for the first time since their escape. They killed my contact. I barely got away. If I hadn't overheard them talking about you too." Her voice trails off, the unspoken fate hanging heavy in the air. Sarah reaches out, grasping Maria's trembling hand. "You saved our lives. Thank you." The taxi slows as it turns onto a narrow, tree-lined road. Jack leans forward, his eyes scanning the surroundings with practiced vigilance. "Stop here," he instructs the driver, handing over a wad of cash. "And forget you ever saw us." As they step out into the crisp morning air, the reality of their situation hits Sarah anew. The quiet suburban street feels alien and exposed after the frenetic pace of their escape. Every rustle of leaves, every distant car engine sends a jolt of fear through her body. Jack leads them to a nondescript house at the end of the cul-de-sac. As he fiddles with the lock, Sarah can't shake the feeling of eyes watching them from every shadow. Once inside, Jack immediately sets about securing the perimeter, checking windows and drawing curtains. Sarah and Maria stand in the sparsely furnished living room, both looking lost and overwhelmed. "What now?" Sarah asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack turns to face them, his expression grim but determined. "Now we fight back. Your story was just the opening salvo. We need to keep the pressure on, expose every dirty secret, every corrupt deal." "But how?" Maria interjects, fear evident in her voice. "They'll be hunting us. They have resources, power dash, and we have the truth." Jack cuts her off. "Plus, a few tricks up our sleeve." He moves to a seemingly ordinary bookshelf, sliding it aside to reveal a hidden room filled with computers and communication equipment. Sarah's eyes widen as she takes in the setup. "You've been preparing for this," she realizes aloud. Jack nods, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "For longer than, kid. I've been tracking Riverside Enterprises and their web of corruption for years. Your story was the key to blowing it all wide open." As they settle into the hidden room, the gravity of their situation begins to sink in. Sarah can feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders, mingled with a fierce determination to see this through. Jack boots up one of the computers, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "First things first, we need to establish secure communication channels with our allies. There are others out there fighting this fight, we just need to connect the dots." As Jack works, Sarah turns to Maria. "We need to know everything, Every detail, no matter how small, could be crucial." Maria nods, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "It goes deeper than you can imagine. Riverside is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a shadow network controlling everything from city contracts to judicial appointments. I've seen documents linking them to politicians, judges, even federal agents. The implications of Maria's words send a chill down Sarah's spine. The scope of the corruption they're facing is staggering, almost incomprehensible. Suddenly, a series of rapid beeps emanates from one of Jack's monitors. His face pales as he reads the incoming message. "What is it?" Sarah asks, dread pooling in her stomach. Jack turns to them, his expression grave. "They've issued warrants for our arrest. Charges of espionage, treason. They're painting us as enemies of the state." The room falls silent as the weight of this news settles over them. Sarah can feel her heart pounding in her chest, fear and determination warring within her. After a moment, she straightens her shoulders, meeting Jack's gaze with steely resolve. "Then we give them a real fight. If they want to call us enemies of the state, let's show them what that really means." Jack nods, a fierce pride glinting in his eyes. "That's the spirit, kid. But make no mistake, from this moment on, we're in the fight of our lives. Every move we make could be our last." As they begin to formulate their plan of attack, Sarah can't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. She's crossed a line, stepped into a world of shadows and danger she never knew existed. But with the truth as her weapon and justice as her shield, she's ready to take on the corrupt powers that be, no matter the cost. The safe house hums with activity as they prepare for the battle ahead. Outside, the sun climbs higher in the sky, oblivious to the war about to be waged in the shadows. For Sarah, Jack, and Maria, the real fight is just beginning, and the fate of their city, perhaps even their country, hangs in the balance. Their makeshift command center buzzes with activity. Screens flicker with encrypted messages, maps of the city plastered with red pins marking key locations. Sarah's fingers fly across the keyboard, her mind racing as she connects more dots in this intricate web of corruption. Suddenly, Jack's voice cuts through the ambient noise. "We've got movement. Our contact in the police department just sent a warning." Sarah's heart skips a beat as she rushes to Jack's side. "What is it?" His face is grim as he reads the message. "They're planning a raid. Tonight, multiple locations across the city, including known safe houses." Maria gasps, her face pale. "How did they find us so quickly?" "They haven't," Jack says, his voice tight. "Not yet, but they're getting close. We need to move now." The next few minutes are a blur of frantic activity. Sarah's hands shake as she helps pack essential equipment, her mind reeling with the implications of this development. They've barely begun to scratch the surface of this conspiracy, and already the noose is tightening. As they prepare to leave, a sharp knock at the door freezes them in their tracks. Jack motions for silence, drawing a concealed weapon from his waistband. Sarah's heart pounds so loudly she's sure it will give them away. "Jack, it's me. Open up." A muffled voice calls from outside. Recognition flashes across Jack's face. He moves to the door, gun still at the ready, and opens it a crack. A moment later, he ushers in a disheveled man Sarah recognizes as Tom, one of Jack's most trusted sources within the police force. Tom's eyes are wild with urgency. "You need to get out of here now. They're coming. I managed to delay them, but we've got minutes at best." "How bad is it?" Jack asks, already moving to grab the last of their gear. Tom's face is grim. "It's worse than we thought. The corruption goes all the way to the top. The mayor, the police chief, even some federal agents. They're calling you domestic terrorists, Jack. Shoot on sight orders." Sarah feels the blood drain from her face. The reality of their situation hits her like a physical blow. They're not just fighting corruption anymore. They're fighting for their lives. As they rush to the car, the distant wail of sirens sends a chill down Sarah's spine. They pile in, engines roaring to life as Jack peels out of the driveway. "Where are we going?" Maria asks, her voice trembling. Jack's eyes are fixed on the road, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "I've got one last ace up my sleeve. An old friend who owes me a favor. If we can make it to the docks, we might have a chance." As they speed through the darkening city streets, Sarah's mind races. How did she go from aspiring journalist to fugitive in such a short time? The weight of the truth they've uncovered presses down on her, both a burden and a driving force. Suddenly, Flashing lights appear in the rearview mirror. Jack curses under his breath, swerving onto a side street. "Hold on," he shouts as he takes a sharp turn, tires screeching in protest. Sarah's heart leaps into her throat as they weave through traffic, the sounds of pursuit growing ever closer. She catches glimpses of panicked pedestrians, of other cars swerving to avoid them. The city she once knew becomes a blur of lights and shadows. As they approach the waterfront, Jack makes a series of quick turns, momentarily losing their pursuers. They screech to a halt in a dimly lit alley near the docks. "Everyone out now," Jack commands, already moving to grab their essential gear. They sprint towards the water, the sound of approaching sirens spurring them on. Sarah's lungs burn, her legs ache, but fear and adrenaline keep her moving. At the end of a weathered pier, a small speedboat bobs in the water. A grizzled man stands at the helm, his face etched with lines of worry. "Jack, I was starting to think you wouldn't make it," he calls out. As they clamber aboard, the roar of engines and shouts from the shore signal that their pursuers have caught up. Jack's friend guns the engine, and they surge away from the pier just as flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Sarah clings to the railing, the wind whipping her hair as they speed across the dark water. Behind them, the city skyline glows, beautiful and menacing. She can hear the fading sounds of pursuit, can see the flashing lights growing distant. As the adrenaline begins to ebb, Sarah is hit with the full realization of what's happened. They're fugitives now, cut off from everything and everyone they know. But they're also the bearers of a truth that could change everything. Jack moves to her side, his face etched with determination and a hint of fear. "This is just the beginning, Sarah. The real fight starts now. Are you ready?" Sarah takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. She thinks of all they've uncovered, of the corruption that runs deep in the veins of her city. She thinks of the danger, the uncertainty that lies ahead. But she also thinks of the truth, of justice, of the chance to make a real difference. With steel in her voice and fire in her eyes, she meets Jack's gaze. "I'm ready. Whatever it takes, we're going to expose the truth. We're going to bring them down." As the boat speeds into the night, carrying them towards an uncertain future, Sarah feels a mix of fear and exhilaration. The life she knew is behind her, but ahead lies a chance to fight for something bigger than herself. The real battle is just beginning, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Hours pass, and as the first hints of dawn streak across the sky, Jack's friend guides the boat into a secluded cove. The shoreline is rugged and wild, a far cry from the urban jungle they've left behind. "Welcome to your new home. For now," Jack says, his voice gruff with exhaustion. "It's not much, but it's off the grid and secure." As they disembark, Sarah's legs wobble beneath her, a combination of seasickness and overwhelming fatigue. They trudge up a narrow path, overgrown with vegetation, until they reach a small, weathered cabin nestled in the trees. Inside, the cabin is sparse but clean. Jack immediately sets about securing the perimeter and setting up their equipment. Maria collapses onto a worn couch, her face a mask of worry and fatigue. Sarah moves to the single window, peering out at the unfamiliar landscape. The weight of their situation crashes down on her anew. "What now?" she whispers, more to herself than anyone else. Jack's voice answers from behind her, startling her. "Now we fight back. We've got evidence that could bring down the entire corrupt system, but we need to find a way to get it out there without getting ourselves killed in the process." He gestures to the equipment he's setting up. "This is our lifeline to the outside world. We'll use encrypted channels to communicate with our allies, gather more evidence, and plan our next move." Sarah nods, a spark of determination reigniting in her chest. "We need to reach out to other journalists, whistleblowers, anyone who might be willing to help spread the truth." As the days pass, their little cabin becomes a hive of activity. Sarah spends hours poring over documents, connecting dots, and crafting a narrative that will expose the depth of corruption they've uncovered. The work is exhausting, but it keeps the creeping doubts and fears at bay. One evening, as they huddle around their makeshift command center, a breakthrough comes. "I've got something," Maria exclaims, her eyes wide with excitement. A money trail linking the mayor's office directly to offshore accounts controlled by Riverside Enterprises. This is the smoking gun we've been looking for. Jack leans in, his face lighting up as he scans the information. This is it. With this, we can prove the connection between the political establishment and the criminal underworld. We need to get this out there now. Sarah's heart races as she begins to craft the story, her fingers flying across the keyboard. This is what she was born to do, to uncover the truth and share it with the world. As she works, a sudden crackle of static from their emergency radio makes them all jump. Repeat, this is an all-points bulletin. Suspects Sarah Thompson, Jack Reeves, and Maria Gonzalez are to be considered armed and extremely dangerous. Approach with caution. Shoot-to-kill orders have been authorized. The blood drains from Sarah's face as the gravity of their situation hits home once again. They're not just journalists anymore. They're branded as enemies of the state. Jack's face is grim as he turns to them. We're running out of time. We need to release what we have, and we need to do it now. Sarah nods, her heart pounding but her resolve firm. I'm almost done. Give me an hour to polish it, and we can send it out to every news outlet, social media platform, and whistleblower site we can think of. As Sarah puts the finishing touches on their exposé, she can feel the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. This story could change everything, could bring down a corrupt system that has held their city in its grip for decades. But it could also sign their death warrants. Jack approaches, his face a mix of pride and concern. You ready for this, kid? Once we hit send, there's no going back. Our lives will never be the same. Sarah takes a deep breath, her finger hovering over the send button. She thinks of all they've sacrificed, of the danger they're in, of the truth that burns within her. With a surge of determination, she meets Jack's gaze. I'm ready. Whatever happens next, at least we fought for what's right. As Sarah presses the button, sending their story hurtling into the digital ether, a sense of both terror and exhilaration washes over her. They've lit the fuse on a powder keg of truth, and now all they can do is wait for the explosion. The cabin falls silent, the only sound the gentle hum of computers and the pounding of their own hearts. In this moment of quiet, on the precipice of chaos, Sarah realizes that her journey is far from over. The real fight, the fight for justice and truth, is just beginning. As the first rays of dawn break over the horizon, Sarah steels herself for whatever comes next. They've taken their stand, and now the world will know the truth. But in exposing the corruption that plagues their city, they've made powerful enemies. The question that hangs in the air, unspoken but felt by all, is simple yet terrifying. What will be the cost of their courage? Jack hunches over the communications equipment, his face illuminated by the soft glow of screens, scanning for any sign that their message has broken through. Maria sits quietly in the corner, her eyes distant, lost in thought. Suddenly, Jack's voice cuts through the silence. It's happening. Sarah rushes to his side, her heart pounding. On the screens before them, they watch as their story begins to spread like wildfire across social media platforms, news websites, and messaging apps. My God, Sarah breathes, her voice barely above a whisper. It's working. As the day progresses, the impact of their revelation becomes clear. News channels begin to pick up the story, political commentators speculate wildly, and calls for investigations echo across the airwaves. But with each passing hour, a new tension builds. They know it's only a matter of time before those they've exposed strike back. As night falls, Jack receives an encrypted message from one of his contacts. His face grows grim as he reads it. What is it? Sarah asks, dread pooling in her stomach. Jack looks up, his eyes hard. They're mobilizing. The mayor's called for a special task force to hunt us down. They're framing us as domestic terrorists, claiming our evidence is fabricated. Maria lets out a small gasp. But the evidence, it's irrefutable. How can they deny it? They're desperate, Jack replies, cornered animals lashing out. But make no mistake, they're dangerous. More so now than ever. As if to punctuate his words, a distant sound reaches their ears, the thrum of helicopter rotors. "We need to move," Jack says, already gathering their essential equipment. Now, they scramble to pack, adrenaline surging through their veins. Sarah's hands shake as she shoves documents into a backpack, her mind racing. How did they find them so quickly? Just as they're about to leave, a deafening explosion rocks the cabin. The window shatters, showering them with glass. Sarah's ears ring as she hits the floor, her heart threatening to burst from her chest. "Tear gas!" Jack yells over the chaos. "Cover your faces and run!" They stumble out of the cabin, choking and disoriented. The night air is filled with smoke and the harsh glare of searchlights. Sarah can hear shouts in the distance, the sound of boots crunching through underbrush. Jack leads them down a hidden path, away from the advancing forces. They run blindly through the dark forest, branches whipping at their faces, the sounds of pursuit never far behind. After what feels like hours, they emerge onto a small, secluded beach. A weathered rowboat sits half-hidden in the undergrowth. "Get in," Jack commands, already pushing the boat towards the water. As they row out into the inky blackness of the ocean, Sarah looks back at the shoreline. Flashlight beams dance through the trees, and she can hear frustrated shouts fading into the distance. Once they're far enough from shore, Jack pulls out a satellite phone. "I've got one last card to play," he says, his voice tight with tension. "An old friend who might be able to get us out of the country." As Jack makes the call, Sarah huddles close to Maria, both for warmth and comfort. The gravity of their situation weighs heavily upon her. They've succeeded in exposing the truth, but at what cost? They're fugitives now, hunted by the very system they sought to change. Jack finishes his call and turns to them, his face a mixture of hope and apprehension. "We've got an extraction point, 50 miles up the coast. If we can make it there by dawn, we've got a chance at getting out of here alive." Sarah nods, a strange calm settling over her. She realizes that this moment, adrift on the vast ocean with danger at their heels, is a point of no return. Whatever happens next, her old life is gone forever. As they row through the night, guided only by the stars and Jack's weathered compass, Sarah's mind races with questions. What will become of their city now that the truth is out? Will their sacrifice make a difference? And if they do manage to escape, what then? The horizon begins to lighten, the first hints of dawn breaking over the water. In the distance, Sarah spots a rocky outcropping, their destination. But as they draw closer, her heart sinks. On the clifftop, she can make out the silhouettes of armed figures waiting for them. Jack sees it too. His face hardens with determination. "We've come too far to give up now," he says, his voice low and intense. "Whatever happens next, remember why we started this fight. The truth is out there now, and that's what matters." Sarah takes a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever comes next. As they row towards the shore and their uncertain fate, she realizes that their journey is far from over. The fight for justice, for truth, will continue with or without them. The boat cuts through the gentle waves, carrying them towards a confrontation that will determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of their entire city. Sarah's heart pounds with a mixture of fear and determination. Whatever happens next, she knows that their story, their truth, will live on. Jack's voice, low and urgent, breaks the tense silence. "Whatever happens, stay close to me. Be ready to run." The boat scrapes against the rocky shore, and for a moment, time seems to stand still. Then, everything happens at once. "Freeze! Hands where we can see them!" A voice booms from above, amplified by a megaphone. Sarah's blood runs cold. This is it, she thinks. We've come so far only to fail at the last moment. But then, something unexpected happens. One of the figures on the cliff steps forward, lowering their weapon. "Jack, is that really you, you old son of a gun?" Relief washes over Jack's face. "Thompson, what the hell are you doing here?" The man on the cliff, Thompson, turns to his companions. "Stand down, boys. These are the ones we're here to extract." Confusion and hope war within Sarah as they clamber up the rocky path to the clifftop. As they reach the top, She sees that the armed men are not the government forces they feared, but a ragtag group of what appear to be ex-military types. Thompson, a grizzled man with kind eyes, explains the situation. Your message got through, Jack. It's causing quite the stir back in the city. We're part of a watchdog group that's been trying to expose this corruption for years. When we heard you were in trouble, we came to help. The relief is almost overwhelming. Sarah feels her knees go weak, and Maria steadies her with a comforting hand on her shoulder. But their reprieve is short-lived. In the distance, the sound of helicopter rotors grows louder. We need to move, Thompson says urgently. Our transport is waiting, but we've got company coming. They race through the underbrush, the sound of pursuit growing ever closer. Sarah's lungs burn, her legs ache, but fear and adrenaline keep her moving. They break through the treeline to find a small airstrip where a battered cargo plane sits idling. As they sprint towards it, gunfire erupts behind them. Sarah feels the zip of bullets passing far too close for comfort. Go, go, go! Jack yells, practically shoving Sarah and Maria up the cargo ramp. As the plane begins to roll, more vehicles appear at the edge of the airstrip. Sarah watches in horror as men in dark suits pour out, weapons raised. The cargo plane picks up speed, bullets pinging off its metal hull. For a terrifying moment, Sarah thinks they won't make it. But then the plane lifts off, climbing rapidly into the sky. As they gain altitude, an eerie quiet settles over the cargo hold. Sarah looks around at their ragtag group of allies and fellow fugitives, all wearing expressions of disbelief and exhaustion. Jack breaks the silence. Thompson, where are we headed? The older man's face is grim. Somewhere safe for now. But this fight is far from over. Your exposé has cracked the foundation, but the corrupt system is still standing. They'll try to discredit you, to bury the truth. Sarah feels a steely resolve settle over her. Then we keep fighting. We gather more evidence, we make alliances. We don't stop until the whole rotten structure comes crashing down. Jack looks at her with a mixture of pride and concern. You understand what that means, right? There's no going back to your old life. This is it now. Always on the run, always in danger. Sarah meets his gaze, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. I know, but we've come too far to give up now. The truth is worth fighting for, no matter the cost. As the plane soars through the clouds, carrying them towards an uncertain future, Sarah feels a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. They've won this battle, but the war is far from over. The corrupt powers they've exposed will stop at nothing to silence them, to bury the truth once more. But as she looks around at her companions, Jack with his unwavering determination, Maria with her quiet strength, Thompson and his team of unexpected allies, Sarah knows they're not alone in this fight. They've struck a blow for justice, and others will take up their cause. The horizon stretches out before them, vast and unknown. Sarah doesn't know what challenges await, what dangers they'll face. But she knows one thing with absolute certainty. The truth will prevail, no matter how long it takes, no matter what sacrifices must be made. As the first rays of sunlight break through the clouds, illuminating the cabin in a soft golden glow, Sarah feels a glimmer of hope. This is not the end of their story, but merely the beginning of a new chapter. The fight for truth and justice continues, and they'll be there, on the front lines, come what may. The cargo plane flies on, carrying its precious cargo of truth-seekers and whistleblowers towards an uncertain but hopeful future. And as Sarah looks out at the endless sky, she knows that no matter what happens next, they've already changed the world. The truth is out there now, and nothing can stop it from spreading. Thompson leads them to a nondescript compound hidden among the trees. Inside, they find a bustling command center filled with computers, communication equipment, and walls covered in maps and photographs. Welcome to the Resistance, Thompson says, his voice tinged with pride and determination. Over the next few days, Sarah and her companions are introduced to a network of journalists, hackers, and activists from around the world, all working towards the same goal: exposing corruption and fighting for justice. One evening, as Sarah pores over new evidence, Jack approaches her with a grave expression. "We've got a problem," he says, his voice low. "Our story has caused a stir, but the powers that be are pushing back hard. They're flooding the media with disinformation, discrediting our sources." Sarah feels a knot form in her stomach. "What can we do?" Jack's eyes gleam with a fierce determination. "We go bigger. We've exposed the corruption in one city, but this goes deeper. We need to connect the dots globally." As they discuss their next move, an alarm blares through the compound. Thompson rushes in, his face pale. "We've been compromised," he shouts over the din. "They've found us. We need to evacuate now." Chaos erupts as everyone scrambles to gather essential equipment and data. Sarah's heart pounds as she helps Maria stuff hard drives into a backpack. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the building. Smoke fills the air, and Sarah can hear gunfire in the distance. "This way," Jack yells, guiding them towards a hidden exit. They emerge into the cool night air, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. As they race through the dense forest, Sarah's mind whirls. How did they find us? Who betrayed us? They reach a clearing where a helicopter waits, its rotors already spinning. As they clamber aboard, Sarah looks back to see flames engulfing the compound. Her heart aches for the brave individuals they're leaving behind. As the helicopter lifts off, Jack turns to Sarah, his face illuminated by the glow of his tablet. "I managed to download most of our data," he shouts over the roar of the engines. "But we lost a lot back there. We're going to have to start almost from scratch." Sarah nods, a steely resolve settling over her. "Then that's what we'll do. We've come too far to give up now." As they fly through the night, Sarah gazes out at the vast, dark landscape below. She thinks about how much her life has changed in such a short time. From an eager young reporter to a fugitive fighting a global conspiracy. The weight of their mission settles heavily on her shoulders. Maria's voice breaks through her thoughts. "What's our next move?" Sarah turns to her companions, her eyes blazing with determination. "We keep fighting. We build new alliances, gather more evidence, and we make sure the world knows the truth, no matter the cost." Jack nods approvingly. "I've got contacts in Europe. If we can make it there, we might be able to regroup, start building our case again." As the helicopter flies towards an uncertain future, Sarah feels a strange mix of fear and excitement. They've lost a battle, but the war is far from over. The corrupt powers they're fighting against are strong, but so is the truth. She thinks about all the people counting on them, the whistleblowers, the victims of corruption, the citizens yearning for justice. They can't let them down. As the first light of dawn breaks on the horizon, Sarah makes a silent vow. No matter what challenges lie ahead, no matter how dangerous the path becomes, she will not rest until the truth is known and justice is served. The helicopter flies on, carrying its precious cargo of truth-seekers towards new horizons. Sarah doesn't know what the future holds, but she knows one thing for certain. Their fight is just beginning, and they will not back down. As they soar through the breaking dawn, Sarah feels a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead is long and fraught with danger, but with every obstacle they overcome, with every piece of evidence they uncover, they move one step closer to their goal. The world below awakens to a new day, unaware of the battle being waged in the shadows. But Sarah and her companions know the truth, and they will stop at nothing to bring it to light. The journey continues, the stakes higher than ever, as they fly towards the next chapter in their relentless pursuit of justice. Jack leads them through winding alleys and crowded streets, their eyes constantly scanning for potential threats. Sarah's heart races with every passing siren, every glance from a stranger. The weight of their mission, and the danger that comes with it, feels heavier than ever. They arrive at a nondescript apartment building, climbing several flights of stairs before Jack knocks on a door in a specific pattern. After a tense moment, it opens to reveal a woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Marta," Jack says with a nod. "Thank you for this." Marta ushers them inside quickly, her voice low and urgent. "You've stirred up quite the hornet's nest, my friends. The fallout from your exposé has reached even here." As they settle into the cramped safe house, Sarah feels a mix of exhaustion and nervous energy. They're safe for now, but for how long? Over the next few days, they work tirelessly to rebuild their network and gather new evidence. Sarah spends hours poring over financial records, tracing the web of corruption across continents. The scale of what they're uncovering is staggering, and at times, overwhelming. One evening, as they're huddled around a makeshift workstation, Maria gasps. "I think I found something big," she says, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. They crowd around her computer screen, eyes widening as they take in the information. It's a trail of transactions linking major corporations, political figures, and criminal organizations across the globe. "This is it," Jack breathes. "The smoking gun we've been looking for," but their elation is short-lived. Suddenly, the lights in the apartment flicker and die. In the eerie silence that follows, they hear heavy footsteps on the stairs outside. "We've been compromised," Marta hisses, already moving to grab their essential equipment. Sarah's heart pounds as she helps gather their data. The sound of a battering ram against the door echoes through the apartment. "This way," Marta shouts, revealing a hidden passage behind a bookshelf. They scramble through the narrow opening just as the front door bursts open. Sarah can hear shouts and the sound of furniture being overturned as they descend a dark, twisting staircase. They emerge into a dimly lit underground tunnel. The damp, musty air fills Sarah's lungs as they run, the sounds of pursuit not far behind. "Where does this lead?" she gasps to Marta. "To hope," Marta replies cryptically, her face grim with determination. As they navigate the labyrinthine tunnels, Sarah's mind races. Who betrayed them this time? How did their enemies find them so quickly? And most importantly, what will happen to the crucial evidence they've uncovered? After what feels like hours, they emerge into the cool night air. A van waits for them, engine running. As they pile in, Sarah catches a glimpse of their pursuers emerging from the tunnel entrance. The van peels away, tires screeching. Sarah's heart is in her throat as they weave through the city streets, the sound of sirens growing ever closer. "Where are we going?" Maria asks, her voice shaking. Jack's face is set in grim determination. "To the one place they won't expect. We're taking this fight public." Sarah's eyes widen as she realizes what he means. It's a risky move, potentially suicidal, but it might be their only chance. As the van speeds towards the city's main television station, Sarah feels a strange calm settle over her. They've come too far to turn back now. Whatever happens next, they'll face it together. The van screeches to a halt in front of the station. As they rush towards the entrance, Sarah can hear the approaching sirens. They have minutes, maybe seconds. Jack turns to them, his eyes blazing with determination. "This is it. We either change the world tonight or we go down trying. Are you ready?" Sarah meets his gaze, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "Ready," as they burst into the station, causing a commotion that quickly spreads through the building. Sarah feels as though she's watching herself from outside her body. This is the moment everything has been building towards. Their last stand, their final chance to expose the truth to the world. The next few minutes are a blur of shouted orders, startled faces, and frantic activity. Somehow, they make it to the live broadcast room just as security starts to catch up with them. As the red, on-air light blinks to life, Sarah finds herself staring into the camera. Lens, the weight of the world on her shoulders. This is their moment of truth. Everything they've fought for, everything they've sacrificed, has led to this. With a deep breath, she begins to speak, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Good evening. My name is Sarah Thompson, and I'm here to tell you the truth about the corruption that's infecting our world." As Sarah pours out their story to millions of viewers, she can hear the commotion outside the studio growing louder. They don't have much time. But in this moment, with the truth finally being told, Sarah feels a surge of hope. Whatever happens next, they've done what they set out to do. The truth is out there, and nothing can stop it now. The door to the studio begins to buckle under the assault from outside. Sarah's voice never wavers as she continues to speak, determined to reveal as much as she can in the precious seconds they have left. The world is watching, and the tide of history is about to turn. The truth is out there now, Sarah says, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. It's up to you, the people, to demand justice and... Her words are cut short as she's roughly pulled away from the camera. The studio erupts into pandemonium. Sarah catches glimpses of Jack and Maria being restrained, of Marta slipping away in the confusion. The feed cuts to static, but Sarah knows their message has been sent. As she's led away in handcuffs, a strange calm settles over her. They've done it. They've told the world the truth. Whatever happens next, that can't be undone. The next few hours are a blur of interrogation rooms and stern-faced officials. Sarah refuses to speak, her mind racing with worry for her friends and the impact of their broadcast. Through it all, a seed of hope grows in her chest. They can't silence the truth now. It's spreading like wildfire. Just as dawn breaks, there's a commotion outside her holding cell. The door swings open to reveal a harried-looking official. "Miss Thompson," he says, his voice tight. "You're being released." Sarah blinks in disbelief. "What?" "The situation has changed," he replies cryptically. As she's led out of the police station, Sarah is met with a sight that takes her breath away. The streets are filled with people, thousands of them, all chanting and holding signs demanding justice and transparency. News vans line the streets, reporters clamoring for statements. A familiar voice cuts through the din. Sarah. She turns to see Jack pushing through the crowd, Maria close behind him. They embrace, tears of relief and joy streaming down their faces. "It worked," Maria says, her voice choked with emotion. The people rose up. Governments are falling, corporations are being investigated. It's happening all over the world. Sarah feels dizzy with the implications. Their desperate gamble had paid off beyond their wildest dreams. A young woman approaches them, her eyes shining with admiration. "Thank you," she says fervently. "You've given us hope. What do we do now?" Sarah looks at Jack and Maria, then back at the expectant faces in the crowd. She realizes that this isn't the end of their journey. It's a new beginning. "Now," she says, her voice carrying over the crowd, "we rebuild. We create a system of true transparency and accountability. It won't be easy, but together we can make it happen." As the crowd cheers, Sarah feels a weight lift from her shoulders. The fear and uncertainty that had been her constant companions for so long begin to fade, replaced by a sense of purpose and hope. In the days that follow, Sarah and her friends find themselves at the center of a global movement for change. They testify before international tribunals, advise newly formed ethics committees, and continue to investigate and expose corruption wherever they find it. It's not an easy road. There are still those who resist change, who cling to the old, corrupt ways. There are setbacks and dangers, but with each passing day, the world inches closer to the ideal of true justice and transparency that they had fought so hard for. One evening, months after their broadcast, Sarah stands on a balcony overlooking a city alive with the energy of positive change. Jack joins her, leaning on the railing. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" he asks, a note of wonder in his voice. Sarah shakes her head, smiling. "Never. But I'm glad we took the risk." As they look out at the city, at the world they've helped to change, Sarah feels a profound sense of accomplishment and hope. The fight isn't over. It may never truly be over, but they've struck a mighty blow for truth and justice. "What's next?" Jack asks, turning to her with a familiar glint of adventure in his eyes. Sarah grins, feeling the old excitement stirring in her chest. "Well, I've been hearing some interesting rumors about corruption in the space industry. Fancy a trip to NASA?" Jack laughs, clapping her on the shoulder. "Always ready for the next big story, aren't you?" As they head back inside to start planning their next investigation, Sarah feels a surge of gratitude and determination. The world is far from perfect, but now there's hope, real, tangible hope for a better future. And as long as there are people willing to stand up for the truth, that hope will never die. The adventure continues, the fight for justice an ongoing journey. But now, they face it not as fugitives, but as heroes, backed by a global movement hungry for change. The future, for the first time in a long while, looks bright. Ready for this? Jack asks, a mixture of excitement and apprehension in his voice. Sarah nods, her jaw set with determination. Let's do it. They pass through security with carefully crafted press credentials, their hearts pounding with each scrutinizing glance from the guards. Once inside, they're met by Dr. Eliza Chun, a whistleblower who reached out to them with claims of misappropriated funds and dangerous corner-cutting in the space program. Dr. Chun leads them through a labyrinth of corridors, her voice low and urgent. What I'm about to show you could change everything we think we know about our space exploration efforts. They enter a secure lab, and Dr. Chun pulls up a series of documents and schematics on a large screen. Sarah's eyes widen as she takes in the information. Are you saying that? She begins, her voice trailing off as the implications sink in. Dr. Chun nods grimly. Yes, they've been faking data, covering up failed experiments. And worse, they're planning to launch a mission that they know isn't safe. Jack leans in, his face pale. But why? What's driving this? Money, Dr. Chun replies, her voice bitter, and the promise of off-world resources that could make certain individuals very, very wealthy. As they delve deeper into the evidence, alarms suddenly blare through the complex. Dr. Chen's face drains of color. They know, she whispers. We need to get out of here now. They race through the corridors, the sound of heavy footsteps echoing behind them. Sarah's heart pounds in her chest, the flash drive with the damning evidence feeling like it's burning a hole in her pocket. They burst out of a side exit, only to find themselves surrounded by security vehicles. Armed guards approach, weapons raised. Hands in the air, a voice booms through a megaphone. You're under arrest for trespassing and theft of classified information. Sarah's mind races, searching for a way out. Suddenly, a sleek black car screeches to a halt nearby. The door flies open, revealing Maria at the wheel. Get in, she shouts. Without hesitation, they make a break for the car, diving in as bullets ping off the reinforced exterior. Maria floors it, tires squealing as they tear away from the NASA complex. How did you know? Sarah gasps, her heart still racing. Maria grins, her eyes fixed on the road as she navigates through traffic at breakneck speed. Let's just say I've got some new friends in high places. Speaking of which, she hands Sarah a satellite phone. Call this number. Now. With shaking fingers, Sarah dials. A familiar voice answers. This is Thompson. Senator Thompson? Sarah asks, incredulous. The very same, he replies. I hear you've stirred up quite the hornet's nest, Ms. Thompson. But don't worry, we've got your back. Head to the following coordinates. A plane will be waiting to take you to a secure location. As they speed towards their extraction point, Sarah's mind whirls with the implications of what they've uncovered and the powerful allies they've gained. The corruption they're fighting has reached beyond the bounds of Earth, but so has their network of truth-seekers and justice fighters. Hours later, as they soar over the Atlantic in a private jet, Sarah gazes out the window at the vast expanse of stars above. The evidence they've gathered could shake the foundations of global space exploration efforts and expose a web of corruption that spans continents and reaches into the cosmos. Jack settles into the seat beside her, his face etched with a mixture of exhaustion and excitement. So, what's our next move? Sarah turns to him, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. We take this to the people. We expose the truth about what's happening in our space programs, and we demand accountability. As the plane carries them towards an uncertain but thrilling future, Sarah feels a surge of hope and purpose. They're no longer just journalists or whistleblowers. They've become something more, guardians of truth in an age of cosmic exploration and earthly corruption. The stars shine brightly outside, holding secrets and possibilities beyond imagination. And down on Earth, a movement is growing, fueled by the courage of those who dare to seek the truth, no matter where it leads. Sarah smiles, feeling the weight of their mission and the excitement of the unknown future. Buckle up, Jack, she says, her voice filled with determination. Our biggest story yet is about to unfold, and this time the whole world, no, the whole universe is watching. As the plane soars through the night sky, Sarah knows that their journey is far from over. In fact, it feels like it's only just beginning. Whatever challenges lie ahead, whatever dangers they may face, they'll meet them head-on, armed with the most powerful weapon of all, the truth. "Welcome to the Eagle's Nest," he says, ushering them into a waiting vehicle. "It's one of the most secure locations in the world. You'll be safe here while we plan our next move." As they wind their way up the mountain, Sarah's mind races. The weight of the information they carry feels heavier with each passing moment. Jack squeezes her hand reassuringly, sensing her tension. They arrive at a state-of-the-art facility disguised as a luxury chalet. Inside, they're met by a diverse group of individuals, scientists, politicians, and activists from around the world. "Ladies and gentlemen," Senator Thompson announces, "meet the Cosmic Truth Coalition." Over the next few days, Sarah and Jack work tirelessly with the coalition, piecing together the full scope of the corruption they've uncovered. The evidence paints a chilling picture, a global conspiracy involving not just NASA, but space agencies and corporations worldwide. Late one night, as Sarah pores over documents, she stumbles upon something that makes her blood run cold. "Jack," she whispers, her voice trembling. "Look at this." Jack leans in, his eyes widening as he reads. "My God," he breathes. "They're not just faking data. They're covering up evidence of extraterrestrial life." Sarah finishes, the words hanging heavy in the air. The revelation sends shockwaves through the coalition. Debates rage about how to proceed, the risks of going public with such earth-shattering information. Amidst the chaos, Sarah feels a strange calm settle over her. She stands up, her voice cutting through the arguments. "We have to tell the world, all of it. The corruption, the cover-ups, and yes, the possibility of alien life. The people deserve to know the truth." Her words are met with a moment of stunned silence, followed by a groundswell of support. Plans are quickly put into motion for a global broadcast, one that will shake the foundations of human understanding. As the day of the broadcast approaches, tension in the facility reaches a fever pitch. Security is tightened as there are whispers of potential attacks from those who want to keep the truth hidden. Hours before they're set to go live, alarms blare through the complex. "We've been compromised," a security officer shouts. "Multiple hostiles incoming." Sarah's heart races as she and Jack are rushed to a secure room. Through reinforced windows, they watch as black-clad figures rappel from helicopters onto the facility's roof. "We have to get you out of here," Senator Thompson says urgently, revealing a hidden passage. "There's a backup broadcast location in the village below. If you can make it there, we can still get the truth out." Sarah looks at Jack, seeing her own determination reflected in his eyes. "We'll do it," she says firmly. They slip into the passage, the sounds of gunfire echoing behind them. The tunnel is dark and narrow, their path lit only by the dim glow of emergency lights. Sarah's breath comes in short gasps, her mind focused solely on their mission. They emerge into the crisp night air, the lights of the village twinkling below. But their relief is short-lived as the whir of helicopter blades fills the air. "Run!" Jack shouts, grabbing Sarah's hand. They sprint down the mountain path, icy wind whipping at their faces. Sarah can hear shouts and footsteps behind them, growing ever closer. Her lungs burn, her legs ache, but she pushes on, driven by the knowledge of what's at stake. Just as their pursuers are about to overtake them, a van screeches to a halt on the road ahead. The door flies open, revealing Maria at the wheel. "Get in," she yells. They dive into the van, which immediately speeds off down the winding mountain road. Sarah's heart pounds as she watches their pursuers grow smaller in the rearview mirror. "How did you find us?" Jack asks, still catching his breath. Maria grins, her eyes fixed on the treacherous road ahead. "Let's just say I called in a few favors. Now, I believe we have a broadcast to make." As they hurtle towards the village and their date with destiny, Sarah feels a mix of fear and exhilaration. In mere minutes, they'll reveal truths that will change the course of human history forever. The van skids to a stop outside a small, unassuming building. They rush inside, where a makeshift studio has been set up. Technicians work feverishly to establish the global link. 30 seconds, someone calls out. Sarah takes her place in front of the camera, her heart racing. Jack gives her a thumbs up from behind the camera. This is it. The moment that will define not just their lives, but the future of humanity. We're live in 3, 2, 1. The red light blinks on, and Sarah takes a deep breath. Good evening. My name is Sarah Thompson, and I'm here to tell you the truth about our place in the universe. As Sarah begins to speak, revealing the corruption, the cover-ups, and the earth-shattering evidence of extraterrestrial life, she feels a profound sense of purpose. Whatever happens next, the truth is finally out there, and nothing will ever be the same again. We did it, Jack breathes, pulling Sarah into a tight embrace. We actually did it, but their victory is short-lived. The sound of approaching vehicles shatters the moment of triumph. We need to move now, Maria shouts, already ushering them towards a back exit. As they slip out into the night, the village is in uproar. People flood the streets, their faces a mix of awe, fear, and disbelief. In the distance, sirens wail. They make their way through winding alleys, hearts pounding, when suddenly a hand reaches out and pulls them into a shadowy doorway. Sarah stifles a scream, only to find herself face to face with an elderly woman. Come, the woman says in heavily accented English. I can help you. With no other choice, they follow her through a maze of underground tunnels. Sarah's mind races, trying to process the magnitude of what they've just done. They've changed the world irrevocably, but at what cost? They emerge in a clearing high in the mountains. A sleek, otherworldly craft hovers silently before them, bathed in an eerie blue light. What is this? Sarah gasps, her voice barely a whisper. The old woman smiles, her form shimmering and changing before their eyes. In her place stands a being of indescribable beauty and alienness. You have done well, Sarah Thompson, the being says, its voice resonating in their minds. You have taken the first step in preparing your species for what is to come. Jack steps forward, his voice shaking. Are you saying that everything we uncovered was but a fraction of the truth? The being finishes. Your world stands on the brink of a new era. The question is, are you ready to take the next step? Sarah feels a surge of emotions, fear, excitement, wonder. She looks at Jack and Maria, seeing her own mix of feelings reflected in their eyes. What is the next step? She asks, her voice steadier than she feels. The being gestures towards the craft. To see beyond your world. To understand your place in the greater cosmos. But be warned, once you take this journey, there is no turning back. The truths you will uncover may be more than you are prepared to face. Sarah takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision before her. Everything they've fought for, everything they've sacrificed, has led to this moment. She turns to her companions. What do you think? Jack's eyes shine with determination. We've come this far. I say we see it through. Maria nods, a fierce smile on her face. Someone has to be the first. Why not us? Sarah faces the being, her heart pounding but her resolve firm. We're ready. As they approach the craft, Sarah feels a mix of terror and exhilaration. They're about to embark on a journey beyond anything they could have imagined. The truth they sought on Earth was just the beginning. The craft's entrance opens with a soft hiss. As they step inside, Sarah takes one last look at the world they're leaving behind. The lights of the village twinkle below, oblivious to the momentous events unfolding above. Whatever happens, she says to Jack and Maria, we face it together. They nod, clasping hands as they cross the threshold. The door seals behind them with a sense of finality. The being's voice echoes in their minds. Prepare yourselves. Your greatest adventure is about to begin. As the craft lifts off, Sarah feels a profound sense of both ending and beginning. They've closed one chapter of their lives, but an entirely new book is about to open. The stars beckon, holding secrets beyond their wildest dreams. The earth grows smaller below them, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the vastness of space. Sarah's heart swells with emotion, fear, excitement, and an overwhelming sense of wonder. Ready? Jack asks, squeezing her hand. Sarah nods, a smile spreading across her face. Ready, with a flash of light, the craft accelerates, carrying them towards the unknown. The truth they sought on Earth was just the beginning. Now, they're about to uncover the greatest story ever told, the story of humanity's place in the universe. As they hurtle through the cosmos, Sarah knows that whatever lies ahead, whatever truths they uncover, they'll face it head-on. For they are no longer just journalists or whistleblowers. They are pioneers, embarking on humanity's greatest journey. The adventure continues, stretching out before them like the infinite expanse of space itself. And Sarah, Jack, and Maria are ready to meet it, armed with courage, curiosity, and an unquenchable thirst for the truth. It's beyond words, Sarah whispers, her voice filled with awe. Their alien guide, whom they've come to know as Zara, approaches. We are nearing our destination, she says, her telepathic voice tinged with what sounds like excitement. Suddenly, the craft decelerates, and a massive structure comes into view. It's a space station unlike anything they could have imagined, a sprawling metropolis of gleaming towers and interconnected domes, all suspended in the inky blackness of space. Welcome, Zara says, to the Galactic Council headquarters. As they dock and step out onto the station, Sarah feels a profound sense of smallness. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors bustle about, engaged in activities she can barely comprehend. The air is filled with a cacophony of strange languages and the hum of advanced technology. Jack grips her hand tightly. I can't believe this is real, he murmurs. They're led to a grand chamber where beings that can only be described as elders are gathered. The atmosphere is tense, and Sarah can sense that something momentous is about to occur. One of the elders steps forward, its form shimmering with an otherworldly light. Sarah Thompson, Jack Reeves, Maria Gonzalez, it addresses them, its voice resonating in their minds. Your actions on Earth have set in motion events that will reshape the galaxy. You stand at a crossroads of cosmic importance. Maria's voice shakes as she asks, What do you mean? The elder's expression is grave. Your exposure of the truth on Earth was more significant than you realize. It was a test. One that your species has finally passed after millennia of observation. Sarah's mind reels at the implications. A test? For what? For readiness, another elder chimes in. Readiness to join the galactic community. But with this opportunity comes great responsibility and danger. The first elder continues, a faction within the council believes humanity is still too volatile, too unpredictable to be trusted with the knowledge and power that comes with galactic citizenship. They argue for more drastic measures to contain the potential threat Earth poses. Jack's face pales. What kind of measures? The answer chills them to the bone. Quarantine, isolation, or in the worst case, eradication. Sarah feels a surge of protective anger. You can't do that. Humanity deserves a chance. Zara steps forward. And that is why you are here. You three have proven that humans are capable of seeking truth, of fighting injustice even at great personal cost. You now have the opportunity to be humanity's advocates before the council. The weight of this responsibility settles on Sarah's shoulders like a physical presence. She looks at Jack and Maria, seeing her own mix of fear and determination reflected in their eyes. What do we need to do? She asks, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her heart. The elder gestures, and a holographic display springs to life, showing Earth and the surrounding solar system. You must prove that humanity is ready. You will be given access to knowledge and technology beyond your wildest dreams. Your task is to guide your species towards unity and enlightenment, all while protecting the secret of our existence until the time is right for full disclosure. Jack steps forward, his jaw set with determination. And if we succeed, the elder's form shimmers with what might be hope. Then Earth will take its place among the stars, joining a community of worlds and wonders beyond imagining. As the gravity of their new mission sinks in, Sarah feels a whirlwind of emotions: fear, excitement, doubt, and an overwhelming sense of purpose. They came seeking the truth about corruption on Earth, only to find themselves thrust into a battle for the very future of humanity. Sarah takes a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges ahead. She turns to Jack and Maria, seeing the same resolve in their eyes. "We started this journey together," she says, her voice gaining strength. "And we'll see it through no matter what." They clasp hands, a trio of unlikely heroes standing before the assembled wisdom of the cosmos. The fate of Earth, of all humanity, now rests in their hands. As they prepare to receive the knowledge that will shape the future of their species, Sarah feels a mix of terror and exhilaration. They're about to embark on the most important mission in human history, guiding their world towards a cosmic destiny. The elder raises its hands, and the chamber is filled with a blinding light. As the cosmic knowledge begins to flow into their minds, Sarah's last conscious thought is a promise to Earth, to humanity, and to the unimaginable future that awaits them among the stars. The greatest adventure of all is just beginning, and the fate of an entire world hangs in the balance. "My God," Jack whispers, his voice trembling. It's everything." Sarah's mind reels as she processes millennia of galactic history, advanced sciences, and the intricate web of interstellar politics. The sheer scale of it all is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The elder's voice cuts through their days. "You now carry within you the knowledge to guide your species. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility." As the initial shock subsides, a new sense of purpose fills Sarah. She straightens, meeting the elder's gaze with newfound confidence. "We're ready. What's our first step?" Zara steps forward, activating a holographic display. "You must return to Earth and begin the process of subtle guidance. Your goal is to unite your world, to push humanity towards scientific and social advancement without revealing the existence of extraterrestrial life." Yet, Maria frowns, her brow furrowed with concern. "But how can we do that without being discovered? We're already known fugitives." The elder gestures, and their appearances shimmer and change. Sarah gasps as she looks at her companions, now unrecognizable. "These are your new identities," Zara explains. "You'll be inserted into positions of influence: government, science, and media. From there, you can shape the course of human progress." As they prepare to return to Earth, Sarah feels a mix of excitement and trepidation. They're about to embark on a mission that will span decades, perhaps even centuries. Jack takes her hand, his touch familiar despite his new appearance. "Together?" he asks. Sarah nods, a determined smile on her face. Always, their journey back to Earth is a blur of preparation and strategy. As they approach their home planet, Sarah's heart swells with emotion. It looks so small, so fragile against the vastness of space. They land in secret, emerging into a world that has been forever changed by their initial revelations. The streets are filled with protests and debates, the air electric with a mixture of fear and hope. Sarah, now disguised as Dr. Emily Chun, a brilliant physicist, makes her way to a top-secret research facility. Jack, in his new identity as Senator Mark Williams, heads to Washington, D.C. Maria, transformed into Sofia Rodriguez, a charismatic media mogul, steps into the headquarters of a global news network. As they begin their work, subtle at first but growing in influence, Sarah feels the weight of their responsibility. Every decision, every nudge towards progress, could have far-reaching consequences. Months pass, then years. They work tirelessly, guiding humanity towards a brighter future. Clean energy breakthroughs, diplomatic triumphs, social reforms, all carefully orchestrated to bring the world closer to unity. But it's not without challenges. Dark forces, those who profit from division and ignorance, push back against their efforts. There are moments of doubt, of fear that they might fail. One night, as Sarah pores over plans for a revolutionary space propulsion system, she receives an urgent message from Jack. "Emergency meeting. The bunker. Now." Heart racing, she makes her way to their secret rendezvous point. Jack and Maria are already there, their faces grim. "What's wrong?" Sarah asks, fear gripping her heart. Jack activates a holographic display. "We've got a problem." A faction within the government has discovered traces of our alien technology. They're pushing for full disclosure, but in the worst possible way. They want to weaponize it, to use it for global dominance. Maria nods, her expression tense. And that's not all. My sources tell me that an extremist group is planning to hijack the disclosure to cause worldwide panic. If they succeed, it could plunge the planet into chaos. Sarah feels the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. Everything they've worked for is at risk. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance. What do we do? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack and Maria look to her, their eyes filled with trust and determination. In this moment, Sarah realizes that despite their new identities, despite the years that have passed, they're still the same team that set out to uncover the truth so long ago. She takes a deep breath, her mind racing through possibilities, weighing options with her enhanced intellect. We need to accelerate our plans, she says finally. It's time for a controlled disclosure. We bring the world together, not through fear, but through hope and wonder. As they begin to formulate their most audacious plan yet, Sarah feels a familiar mix of terror and exhilaration. They're about to change the course of human history, to guide their species into a new age of cosmic awareness. The stakes have never been higher, the challenges never more daunting. But as Sarah looks at her companions, she knows that together, they can face anything. Let's do this, she says, her voice filled with determination. Let's bring humanity to the stars. As they plunge into their work, the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, Sarah can't help but feel that their greatest adventure is still to come. The journey that began with a simple search for truth has led them to the threshold of a new era for all of humanity. And whatever challenges lie ahead, whatever wonders or terrors the cosmos may hold, they'll face it together, three unlikely heroes, guiding their world towards its cosmic destiny, people of Earth. Today we stand on the brink of a new era, as she delivers her carefully crafted speech, revealing the existence of extraterrestrial life and humanity's potential place among the stars. Sarah can feel the shock waves rippling through the audience. Gasps of disbelief, murmurs of excitement, and cries of fear fill the air. Meanwhile, Jack and Maria work behind the scenes, coordinating with world leaders and media outlets to ensure a smooth transition. It's a delicate balance, providing proof without causing panic, offering hope without overwhelming humanity with the full scope of what lies beyond. As Sarah concludes her speech, a hush falls over the chamber. For a moment, the world seems to hold its breath. Then, slowly, applause begins to build, growing into a thunderous roar. But their work is far from over. In the days that follow, chaos and excitement grip the planet. Riots break out in some areas, while others celebrate in the streets. Religious leaders grapple with the implications. Scientists clamor for more information, and governments struggle to maintain order. Sarah, Jack, and Maria work tirelessly, guiding humanity through this tumultuous period. They unveil technological advancements gradually, always careful not to upset the delicate balance of global power. Months pass, and slowly, a new world order begins to emerge. Nations put aside old rivalries, united by the common goal of reaching the stars. A global space program is launched, fueled by the hints of advanced technology Sarah has strategically released. One evening, as they gather in their secret bunker to assess their progress, Maria brings troubling news. "We've got a problem," she says, her face grim. "There's a faction within the military that's not happy with how things are progressing. They're planning a coup, aiming to seize control of the alien technology for themselves." Jack slams his fist on the table. "Damn it! We've come too far to let them ruin everything now." Sarah feels a familiar mix of dread and determination. "We need to stop them, but we can't risk exposing ourselves. Our positions are too crucial for the next phase." They spend the night formulating a plan, using their vast knowledge and influential positions to outmaneuver the conspirators. It's a dangerous game, with the fate of humanity's cosmic future hanging in the balance. As dawn breaks, they put their plan into motion. Sarah heads to a top-secret facility, ostensibly to oversee a new experiment. In reality, She's there to confront the leader of the coup. Her heart races as she enters the secure room, coming face to face with General Hawthorne, the mastermind behind the plot. Dr. Chun, he says, his voice cold. To what do I owe the pleasure? Sarah meets his gaze steadily. I think you know why I'm here, General. Your plans end now. What follows is a battle of wills and words, as Sarah uses her enhanced intellect and the General's own secrets against him. It's a high-stakes game of chess, with the future of humanity as the prize. Meanwhile, Jack and Maria work furiously to neutralize the General's allies, using their influence to expose corruption and turn public opinion against the conspirators. As the day wears on, Sarah can feel the tide turning. The General's resolve begins to crumble under the weight of her arguments and the mounting evidence against him. Finally, in a moment of defeat, he slumps in his chair. How? He asks, his voice barely a whisper. How did you know all this? Sarah leans in, her voice low and intense. Because, General, I've seen what lies beyond. And I promise you, the path you wanted to take would have doomed us all. With the coup thwarted, Sarah, Jack, and Maria regroup in their bunker. They're exhausted but exhilarated, knowing they've averted a disaster that could have derailed humanity's cosmic journey. As they catch their breath, a communication device they haven't used in years suddenly activates. Zara's familiar voice fills the room. Well done, my friends, she says, her tone warm with approval. You've passed another test. The Galactic Council is impressed with humanity's progress. They believe it's time for the next phase. Sarah's heart leaps with excitement and trepidation. What's the next phase? She asks. Zara's response sends a thrill of anticipation through them all. Preparation for first contact. It's time to bring humanity fully into the galactic community. As the implications of this sink in, Sarah, Jack, and Maria share a look of wonder and determination. They've guided humanity through its first steps into a larger universe. But the real journey is just beginning. Sarah takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of this new responsibility. Well, she says, a smile spreading across her face, I guess we'd better get to work. As they begin to plan for humanity's official entry onto the galactic stage, Sarah feels a surge of pride and hope. Whatever challenges lie ahead, whatever wonders await, they'll face it together, three friends who started as seekers of truth and became shepherds of their species' destiny. The stars beckon, and humanity, guided by its unlikely heroes, is finally ready to answer the call. Sarah stands atop a newly constructed spaceport, her heart racing as she watches the final touches being put on the sleek, advanced spacecraft that will carry Earth's representatives to the stars. It's a culmination of years of work, of careful guidance and technological leaps. Jack approaches, his face etched with a mixture of excitement and concern. The delegates are ready, he says. But are we sure about this? Once we take this step, there's no going back. Sarah nods, her eyes fixed on the horizon. We have to trust that we've prepared them well enough. It's time for humanity to take its place in the galactic community. Suddenly, Maria's voice crackles over their secure comm link. We've got a situation. You both need to get to the command center now. They rush to the heart of the spaceport, where banks of monitors display a flurry of activity. Maria stands in the center, her face grim. What's wrong? Sarah asks, her stomach knotting with dread. Maria brings up a holographic display. We've detected an anomaly at the edge of our solar system. It's not the Galactic Council. The display shows a massive object, unlike anything they've seen before, approaching Earth at an alarming speed. Jack's face pales. Is it hostile? Before anyone can answer, the object suddenly vanishes from their sensors. For a moment, there's stunned silence in the command center. Then chaos erupts. Alarms blare as reports flood in from around the globe. Strange phenomena are occurring worldwide: gravitational anomalies, electromagnetic disturbances, and inexplicable atmospheric changes. Sarah's mind races, drawing on her vast knowledge of alien civilizations. This isn't like anything the Council prepared us for, she mutters. As they struggle to make sense of the situation, a piercing sound fills the air, causing everyone to clutch their heads in pain. When it subsides, A voice unlike anything they've ever heard resonates in their minds. Humans, it says, its tone both ancient and alien. Your trial begins now. Sarah, Jack, and Maria exchange looks of shock and confusion. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't what the Galactic Council had prepared them for. What trial? Sarah demands, her voice echoing in the silent command center. Who are you? The voice responds, sending chills down their spines. We are the Watchers, guardians of cosmic balance. Your species stands at a crossroads. The trial will determine if you are worthy of ascension, or if you pose too great a threat to the fabric of reality. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. Everything they've worked for, everything they've prepared humanity for, suddenly seems insignificant in the face of this cosmic judgment. Jack grips her arm, his voice tight with tension. What do we do? Sarah takes a deep breath, steeling herself. We face it. Whatever this trial is, we face it together. As if in response to her words, the world around them begins to shimmer and distort. The command center fades away, replaced by an otherworldly landscape that defies description. Sarah, Jack, and Maria find themselves standing before beings of pure energy, their forms constantly shifting and changing. One of the beings speaks, its voice reverberating through their very souls. Your species has been chosen to undergo the trial of ascension. Success will grant humanity a place among the cosmic elders. Failure will result in the quarantine of your entire race. The gravity of the situation settles on Sarah's shoulders like a physical weight. This is far beyond anything they've faced before. The fate of not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy, hangs in the balance. What must we do? She asks, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. The being's response is cryptic and terrifying. You must navigate the labyrinth of realities. Face your greatest fears, your deepest truths. Prove that humanity is capable of transcending its limitations. As the world around them begins to shift once more, Sarah reaches out, grasping Jack and Maria's hands tightly. Whatever lies ahead, whatever cosmic trials they must face, they'll do it together. Ready? She asks, her voice a mixture of determination and trepidation. Jack and Maria nod, their faces set with resolve. As they step forward into the unknown, Sarah feels a profound sense of both fear and exhilaration. This is the ultimate test, not just for them, but for all of humanity. Everything they've done, everything they've sacrificed has led to this moment. The labyrinth of realities beckons, filled with challenges beyond their wildest imagination. But as they take their first steps into this cosmic trial, Sarah knows one thing with absolute certainty. They will face whatever comes, united in their quest to prove humanity's worth among the stars. The greatest adventure of their lives, and perhaps the most important journey in human history, is about to begin. Stay close, Sarah calls out, her voice echoing strangely in the ever-changing environment. We don't know what... Her words are cut short as the ground beneath them suddenly dissolves. They fall, tumbling through a vortex of swirling colors and fractured memories. Sarah lands hard on a familiar street. As she regains her bearings, her heart nearly stops. She's back in her old neighborhood, on the day she first stumbled upon the corruption that started their journey. This can't be real, she whispers, but every detail is perfect. The scent of rain-soaked asphalt, the distant sound of traffic, the weight of her old reporter's notebook in her hand. A voice calls out, achingly familiar. Sarah, what are you doing here? She turns to see her father, alive and well, standing before her. Tears spring to her eyes as she fights the urge to run into his arms. Dad, she chokes out. I don't understand. His expression turns grave. You have to make a choice, Sarah. Pursue the truth and lose everything you love, or walk away and live a life of blissful ignorance. The world seems to hold its breath as Sarah grapples with the decision. Every fiber of her being aches to stay, to reclaim the life she lost. But deep down, she knows the truth. I'm sorry, Dad, she says, her voice breaking, but I have to choose the truth. Always, as soon as the words leave her lips, the scene shatters like glass. Sarah finds herself in a vast, star-filled chamber. Jack and Maria materialize beside her, looking shaken. Did you also? Jack begins, unable to finish the sentence. Maria nods, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. We all faced our own trials. Before they can discuss further, a booming voice fills the chamber. You have passed the first test. But the labyrinth is far from conquered. The starry expanse gives way to a new challenge. They stand before a massive, crystalline structure that seems to contain entire universes within its facets. Behold the nexus of possibilities, the voice intones. Within lies every potential future for your species. You must choose wisely, for the path you select will become reality. Sarah approaches the nexus, her mind reeling at the implications. In its depths, she sees visions of humanity's future, utopian societies of unimaginable advancement, dystopian wastelands ravaged by war and environmental collapse, and everything in between. How can we possibly choose? Maria asks, her voice trembling. Jack shakes his head, overwhelmed. One wrong decision and we could doom our entire species. Sarah takes a deep breath, centering herself. We do what we've always done. We seek the truth, we fight for justice, and we believe in the potential for good in humanity. Together, they reach out and touch the nexus. The crystalline surface ripples like water, and suddenly they're plunged into a whirlwind of possible futures. They witness humanity's triumphs and failures, its moments of profound beauty and terrible darkness. Through it all, they guide their species with unwavering determination, always striving for a future of unity, enlightenment, and cosmic harmony. When they finally emerge, gasping and disoriented, the voice speaks again. You have chosen wisely, but the final test awaits. The chamber dissolves, and they find themselves standing on what appears to be the surface of a dying star. The heat is incredible, the light almost blinding. To prove humanity's worth, the voice declares, one of you must sacrifice everything. Only through the ultimate act of selflessness can your species ascend. Sarah, Jack, and Maria exchange looks of horror and understanding. After all they've been through, it has come down to this, the ultimate sacrifice. I'll do it, they all say in unison, then look at each other in surprise. Sarah feels a swell of love and pride for her friends, but she knows what she must do. No, she says firmly, it has to be me. I started us on this path. I'll see it through to the end. Sarah, no, Jack cries, reaching for her. But she's already stepping forward, towards the heart of the star. As the searing heat engulfs her, Sarah closes her eyes, thinking of Earth, of humanity, of the cosmic journey that began with a simple search for truth. I believe in us, she whispers, as the light consumes her. There's a moment of blinding brilliance. Then, silence. Sarah opens her eyes to find herself back in the command center on Earth, Jack and Maria beside her, looking just as confused. Before they can speak, the air shimmers and Zara appears before them, along with representatives of the Watchers and the Galactic Council. Congratulations, Zara says, her voice filled with pride. You have passed the trial of ascension. Humanity has proven itself worthy of joining the cosmic community. As the implications of their success sink in, Sarah feels a wave of emotion wash over her. They've done it. They've secured humanity's place among the stars. But even as celebrations erupt around the world, as humanity prepares to take its first official steps into the galactic community, Sarah knows their journey is far from over. New challenges, new wonders, and new responsibilities await. She looks at Jack and Maria, seeing the same mix of exhaustion, exhilaration, and determination in their eyes. Whatever comes next, they'll face it together, three unlikely heroes who changed the course of human history. As the first alien ships appear in the skies above Earth, heralding a new era for humanity, Sarah takes a deep breath, ready to embark on their next great adventure. The stars have called and humanity has answered. The real journey is just beginning. Sarah, Jack, and Maria stand at the forefront of the welcoming committee, their hearts racing with anticipation. This is the moment they've worked towards for so long, yet nothing could have truly prepared them for its reality. The lead alien, a being of shimmering energy contained within a translucent humanoid form, approaches them. Its voice resonates in their minds, a melodious blend of thought and emotion. Greetings, children of Earth. I am Ambassador Xanthor. We welcome you to the greater galactic community. Sarah steps forward, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. On behalf of humanity, we thank you for this honor. We are ready to take our place among the stars. As the formal greetings conclude, Xanthor turns to Sarah, its form pulsing with what seems like curiosity. You three have guided your species to this moment. The Council is intrigued by your methods. Jack tenses beside her. Is that a problem? Xanthor's form shimmers in what might be amusement. On the contrary, your unorthodox approach may be exactly what the Council needs in these trying times. Before Sarah can ask what the ambassador means, alarms blare from the command center. Maria rushes to a nearby console, her face paling as she reads the incoming data. We've got a situation, she says, her voice tight. Multiple unidentified objects have just entered the solar system. They're not galactic council ships. The atmosphere shifts instantly from celebration to crisis. Xanthor's form pulses with urgency. It cannot be. They've found us. Who? Sarah demands, a sense of dread growing in the pit of her stomach. Xanthor's response chills them to the bone. The Void Hunters, a race of cosmic predators that seek to devour.